So we're at Greenhouse Nursery again, and we got some plants from a greenhouse, and we got a few roses from Home Depot, some painted roses. Got a pomegranate that's fixing to bloom. Check that out. A Christina pomegranate. I've never heard of it. It's full of caterpillars. Might have to get them off of there if they defoliate the leaves too much. We're gonna take these caterpillars off the pomegranates and put it on some Virginia creeper. Something we don't mind them eating. I don't know if they'll eat them or not. Some caterpillars only eat certain types of leaves. So this is a package I've been waiting maybe, several weeks for. And this is for Wetlands Zone 1. And this is just amazing that I've been able to get this. So hopefully these guys are healthy and we'll do okay here. Well, at first glance, it doesn't look like much. These look like they did a micrograft on them versus like a normal size nursery, even a small nursery, potted tree. So what we got was an early golden American persimmon and a Suki's American persimmon, which is I think a seedling of a early golden, supposedly, or at least that's what they think. And these are supposed to be self-fertile, so they don't need a male American persimmon to produce fruit. So here they are. You can see it still has grafting tape from like some kind of side graft. Is that a bud graft or something? The other one. It also still has that grafting tape there. Some kind of side or bud, is it a bud or chip graft? I'm mainly practice like cleft grafts and stuff myself. Guys were pretty moist, the soil they were in, but I'm going to go ahead and bottom soak them until I get them ready to plant. Let's check out Wetland Zone 1 here. In one of our last videos, we showed you that two of the strawberry or whatever guavas were getting ready to bloom, and now a third one has these little bloom heads here that are going to be opening. Here's one of the originals from the other day. You can see a little bit of white or yellow popping, trying to pop out. They're not quite open yet. So all three of the lemon, yellow, or catlay strawberry guavas are getting ready to bloom. Like our taro also is getting ready to bloom, at least one of them. Taro or Edo or whatever this patch is multiplied like crazy right here. There's like 10 or more. I'm not sure how many bulbs I put here, but it's definitely way less than how many plants are here. See here, a lot of these annual Tithonios just self-reseeded, and it's hard to tell how many more are going to pop out through all of those weeds in the coming months. That pumpkin or squash, zucchini hybrid definitely has at least, I think, 3, surviving plants that were separated by the freezes and frosts and created new roots in individual spots. So you got some growth there. One of them is growing up the elderberry trees. I really don't know what to think about that because these guys are huge. Cherry of Rio Grande has some new growth there, but it has not grown as far as height too much. Probably just an inch or two since I've gotten it. But hopefully that new growth means it's going to be growing a lot more. I still have not been able to find where I planted, I believe, a flatwoods plum here, and possibly a parsley hawthorn. I can't remember where I planted that, but I think I planted 2 things here. And I usually put a bucket within about 2 or 3 feet from where I planted, and the weeds are just everywhere. So I don't know if they come back, if they died, if they just haven't really broken dormancy really good. It's just something we're going to have to play the wait and see game on and try not to mow around here until we know for sure that something is either dead or alive. I can still see some taro popping through this banana mound that I made. Some jewels of opar or whatever. A little bit of sweet potatoes there. Chiang Mai 60 has some little micro mulberries there. And they say, when they get older, they create bigger berries. I've seen this was a cutting off of trees I've seen that had much larger berries. So it just hasn't had a lot of growth. I think this might have been the original cutting, so it come back down almost to the root. I kind of babied it and got it alive again. So let's hope for a lot of growth this year so we can protect it and it'll be old enough to kind of protect itself. Some more growth on the maypop here, passion flower. So yeah, this guy should be just fine. I think it's going to come back every year based on what I see. I have not found that Suriname cherry I planted somewhere around here. Did it die? That's possible. Passion flower that was kind of in the middle of the Wetlands Zone one, not really with the trellis or anything, is still hanging in there, but I don't really see any growth on this area where we have the other flatwoods plum over there, and the maypop and the passion flower over here. Before we get to the super densely rooted area, and before we go to the L shape, is where I wanted to do American persimmons. Now this is dense, this is weedy. I don't really want to do a full raised bed here, but maybe we can do kind of like a mini raised bed and do both of those persimmons within, you know, about 10 feet of each other. And I know they can get 60 foot plus over the years, but hey, we got to experiment first, see if it's even a viable option to grow these guys here. So let's go ahead and plant one or two, build a little bed first and see what happens. There's some material for it. Before I get to that though, we're going to look at a couple other things, and I'll tell you why, or one of the reasons why I guess that Greenhouse Nursery is, and we're not sponsored, paid or anything, is one of my favorites. Their prices aren't always as cheap as Blue Star, which is probably our cheapest and is closer nursery. But they do sometimes get more of the rarer and more exotic fruits and stuff. So it's always fun to go, you know, a little bit further and find things that you're not going to find locally. But on this trip, I was buying stuff for Natalie's mom, and one thing for myself, a large pomegranate. I told the cashier or the person ringing me up what I got. I said, you know, this is a $32 pomegranate. It's the, you know, $1.79 annuals, $3.99 this, you know, $6.99 that. So they rung me up for a 1 gallon pomegranate instead of a 3 or 5 or whatever this one is. And I looked at the receipt and I said, something doesn't add up. After I used my calculator, I figured they undercharged me by about 20 bucks, probably plus tax. So I said, Natalie, shouldn't I just go in here and tell these people? And I went in there and expecting to pay $22 more, and you know, with tax and all. And they said, thank you for being honest, you're good to go. So I just about put a tear in my eye thinking, really? Wow. They've seen me in there quite a few times buying stuff, sometimes $100, $200 at a time. So, you know, they just made a happy customer even more happy. Look how dense the leaves are on these, like Mary Jane, Himalayan, male mulberries. I mean, you know, we had the weird weather where like loquats or something did not fruit last year for most people, unless you're in a microclimate. And then, you know, we got amazing quality of loquats, and now we have the super dense, you know, leaves. I've never seen them so close together and so many. Check out the catkins. So I'm definitely, you know, I've been looking for years and years and years for, you know, like a bud spore, a limb to turn female. Cause, you know, they say it's possible, but so far I haven't seen any. You know, haven't had any of the fruits on this guy because it's all male. That being said, you know, it should be a pollinator. Himalayan or Pakistan female or male should be able to pollinate your other, you know, varieties of mulberries. So this could potentially create, you know, new types that could be commercially viable in the future. This is what a female Pakistan or Himalayan or whatever would look like. And I think the guy I got this from did 2 grafts. 1 graft failed, and I don't know if that's Illinois everbearing or just a red or white or what type this is. Doesn't quite look as big as that Illinois everbearing. It's probably just a seedling. It's hard to tell, but I guess nematodes are a nemesis for Pakistan mulberries, so they usually graft them onto white or other, you know, Illinois everbearing or some other type that's nematode resistant. Now our other Suriname cherry, which is, let's see, right there, seems to be okay. You know, that first one might have just got frost damage. It might have just died, and this guy's okay. we'll plant more in the future. This is our pecan that was grafted and we planted. And you can see it probably did die from the top, but this is still above the graft line here. I've always struggled to get grafted or whatever cultivars of pecans here, despite pecan seedlings falling from other trees and rooting here and being almost impossible to kill. So hopefully we get this guy to take, and we got plenty of other, you know, wild or natural pecans all over the place that will pollinate it. Pineapple or pineapple bromeliad seems to be okay. It's not like getting major growth yet or spreading yet, but I believe it will once it takes hold. Trifoliate orange we got in the other wetlands we took out of there to try to grow. This guy will potentially provide rootstock, so you can make teas and stuff with it, probably some marmalade, but there isn't much other use. It's just like a semi-dwarf rootstock. Somewhere in the vicinity here, I had a thornless cactus, but I don't see it. It could have just rotted away, or maybe a rabbit or something ate it. I don't know. We got an area here at Wetlands Zone 1 where a tree, part of a tree fell and broke there, so I kind of pulled it apart and dug into it like it's half or 2/3 already sawdust or dirt already. So I kind of mixed in the soil, you know, and there are some ants over there. I mixed in some soil with that, and I think I'm gonna put some magic soil in there and maybe some compost and some local garden center soil, and just plant it in here. After that, I'll probably make like a perimeter of leaves and stuff like that as well, so this kind of over time still works as kind of a mycorrhizal bed, a mini version, micro light version, whatever. All right, so we got our magic soil with the mycorrhizal fungi and the earthworms. We got active compost in here. We're full of earthworms. We have the bioactive compost soil from the lizard poop, and we also have mushroom compost. So we're going to put it in here, and we're going to kind of mix it by hand because we don't want to chop up the earthworms. Also put some pine bark in here, and I'm already seeing like some let me see, there's a roly-poly right there, and earthworms, check them out. There's one right there. So there's our early golden. We're not going to take that top strap off. We want to make sure it buds out and gets a little bit of growth, but we're not going to let it strangle it over time. We don't want like dogs or cats or anything to like break the plant before it gets a little bit of growth on it. Number 2, we're making a small triangle here out of some half-rotten logs, and this might be a little bit more challenging to get that dirt from the logs because they're not quite as rotten and as like sandy and soily as the others are. I put a very similar mixture here, but I ran out of mushroom compost, so instead of doing that, I put a little bit of our ash and a little bit of peat moss, instead of the mushroom compost here. But everything else is pretty much the same. Again, I hand mixed it not to chop up the earthworms and stuff like that. So the second one's planted. We need to water it again and mulch it with some leaves, and we'll probably be done for the day on these. I'm gonna rain water this guy here. Maybe about 1/3 of a gallon. Again, kind of pack the dirt around it, push it in there, make sure all those air pockets are pushed in. Kind of mulch it. Piles and piles of leaves. This is mostly camphor, I think. That guy's set. We did the same thing with the early golden here, and it's pretty much set. So we did not do a nutrient drench like stink water or anything like that because we don't want to just burn the roots and kill it off. There's plenty of nutrients in all these composts and stuff, and magic soil, mushroom compost and everything like that. So hopefully this will give it a good start. This white rose is finally opening up. So I'm kind of leery about these micrografts, and I've had a few of them fail, or a lot of them fail, I should say, over the years from various nurseries, especially with like pawpaws and stuff. They'll get a little like really tiny whip with, something maybe 4 inches, 5, 6 inches, and it seems like they're dead when they arrive, and maybe the rootstock survives for a short while or something, and that's my experience with them. Of course, doing raised beds and mycorrhizal beds and stuff like that maybe will give these types of things a boost if they're alive and healthy from the start, you know, where they don't have to compete immediately for a dense population of weeds and roots, you know, so everything is loose and it's higher than everything else. So if I went to a nursery and seen the plants that I got here for the price that I paid for them, I would laugh and just turn them away. But if they're healthy and vigorous and survive and actually, you know, do well, being that they're rare for our area, rare for Florida, these kind of plants don't often become available for someone down here this far south. If it works out, it'll still be worth it. It's definitely going to make me leery until I see what happens. It'll make me leery about ordering anything else from One Green World. You know, if these guys die or something, I probably won't order from these guys again.